Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Rabbi Daniel Cohen. He's a popular motivator, mentor, inspirational speaker. Rabbi Daniel Cohen's unique blend of authenticity, humor, wisdom, and insight help anyone better navigate contemporary society and lead a life of legacy. Rabbi, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Thank God. Very well. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, it's my pleasure. So, Rabbi, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that inspiration? What was your journey like to get here to today? You know, you help couples. Today's topic is moving on with grace. I think it's a great topic to talk about. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like for you?
So I would say, part of it for me was both personal as well as professional. From a personal standpoint, I myself had a very traumatic experience in my life. My mom passed away from a brain aneurysm when she was 44. My life changed in an instant. And, I knew after that, of course, that we can't take anything for granted. But when I turned the same age as my mom, 44, I began to think more deeply, am I doing the most that I can with the life that God has given me? And it led me on this journey to really helping people not live from crisis to crisis and get serious about life when we have a brush with mortality. But really, how do we lead our best life every day? How do we stay in touch with really asking myself every day, not what do I want, but what does God want of me? What's my purpose? And as a rabbi, I oftentimes will have people reach out to me like, I'm going to the hospital, Rabbi, pray for me. And then I won't hear from them, not because they didn't actually make it, they did, but now the crisis has abated. So the book that I wrote, and this is where it comes into just like dating and relationships, is all about becoming the best version of ourselves. I believe very strongly, like in any relationship, it's not helpful when you look at somebody else in a relationship and say, you need to do this. If we change and become a person who walks in life with more humility, grace, gratitude, and wants to do acts of kindness without expectation of return, that will enhance not only you, but your relationship will improve. Many times relationships break down because of arrogance and ego. So I really encourage people to put the ego aside, think about what's most important in life, and automatically you'll create a space in your relationships for deeper love and not self-centeredness.
I love that about moving on. But the thing is, Rabbi, and I'm pretty sure you've been through it as when you talk to people in your everyday life, and we'll definitely talk more about your books and everything. But if you have, having a bad breakup, whether it's marriage or boyfriend and girlfriend, the toughest part, like I had one, Rabbi, a few years ago, but it was more of a financial commitment that I had with this woman. And it was tough for me to let go. The relationship part, whether there was love or not, I could let that go. But if we're partners, as we talked about it, Rabbi, that was tough for me to let go. And I said to myself 5 years ago that if I saw her today, I would be very cordial and say hello and everything. And I really mean that. But it took a while for me to move on with grace. And so when that happens, how do you let go of that anger or that frustration that, someone may have? And let's talk about the single people first, and then we go to marriage. But that's the problem, Rabbi. It took me a while to let go.
So I think that, it's important in life to know what you can control and what you can't control.
Right.
And sometimes, we're living in a state of regret. And by the way, being upset in a relationship that breaks down is important, and that's natural. But then I think for me, and I encourage others, is that all we can change is who we are today to move forward. And at the end of the day, just kind of lamenting the darkness and sitting in the past, I know sometimes it's hard to let go of that, but if I know that there's a lot of work that's beyond me, that I know that I can't control that relationship anymore, then every moment that I expend regretting and feeling bad about it is a moment lost to build myself and hopefully find a new relationship. I believe very strongly also, and this is a matter of faith, that every rejection is a new direction. You
Mm.
know, though sometimes we think we're hitting a wall. I had that in relationships. I mean, I've been married, thank God, for over 35 years, thank God.
Wow.
But I remember early on when I was going out with a girl, I thought she was going to be the one. And she said to me, like, it's not happening. And I remember I was frustrated. I like yelled at the top of my lungs. I went to the top of a building and I just was really upset. And at that moment, I was upset. But right now, I thank my lucky stars and God that she closed the door on me, because the love that I found and the family that I built, I never could have imagined in my wildest dreams in that moment. So there's an element of faith that there will be somebody there. It may not be this person, but sometimes there's somebody else that God is kind of holding for us till the right moment in our lives.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely more important to move on. And like I said, Rabbi, it took a while, but when I sat down and I started thinking about what I did, and I hate to say what I did wrong, but I did. There was some red flags I ignored because, at the time I was single and I did like this girl a lot. I really did. It wasn't mutual, so I think I would have loved to have done what you did, go on top of a building and yelled, but I tried to work it out and it didn't work out. And again, Rabbi, I was okay letting that part go of not being loved. Again, it was more the financial aspect of it because we did have a couple of businesses together. So that was the tough part for me to let that part go because I poured in a lot of money into the relationship. I really tried to make her happy. But at the end of the day, I have to admit that I struck out big time with that. So again, I definitely agree with you. God probably definitely has another plan for us. When it comes to marriage, now, Rabbi, how is that? Because now you're committed in a relationship, for better or for worse. How does someone move on from a bitter breakup, a bitter divorce?
I
Ooh,
think that
oh, there you
part of
go.
it, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think that, unfortunately, look, sometimes, by the way, if a couple is struggling, it's more that many times, maybe there is a therapist, maybe there's somebody who can help them. Not
Mhm.
every bad relationship can't be saved. Some can be. And, my big strategy, and I've said this to couples, again, I'm a rabbi, I'm not a therapist, is that
Right.
just work on becoming the best version of who you are. It's like somebody said to me when I first got married, they said, in a relationship, if you look to be treated like a king, you'll be thrown out of the house. But if you treat your wife like a queen, then you'll be treated like a king. So
Mm,
I do think that it's about thinking not what does she do, what can she do? I'm talking obviously a guy, but like, what can I do better? What can I
right.
do better to be more present, to make her day, to think about the small things? So I think that's number one. Now, if God forbid, maybe the relationship, isn't working, so then it's definitely going to be painful. I do think it's important to have good friends to support a person, but I do feel that, again, sometimes people do change, and maybe there's a new partner that's the right person for who they are at this stage in their life. And again, having that faith that after you've mourned the loss of this relationship to now put yourself out there. And this is important, by the way, also is somebody said to me, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Surround
Wow.
yourself with people that are reflective of the kind of individuals that you want to be and who you want to be around. I'll give you an example. Like if a person's friends are the ones that are just going out clubbing or to bars, you're probably not going to find a person who's altruistic in the same way that if you decide I'm going to go to a food bank or I'm going to go do something and meet new people during volunteer work. So
Mhm.
surround yourself with people who have those ideals, and you'll more likely find somebody who is of that spirit as well.
I like that, being in like-minded environments and all that. And I definitely agree. I remember listening. I forgot who it was. I think his name is Jim Rohn, and he had this saying that you're the average of the five people you hang out with. And I said to myself, "Wow!" At that time, Rabbi, I was hanging out with people that, like you just mentioned, like to go clubbing and things like that. And I didn't want to do that in my late 30s anymore. I wanted something different, so I had to change my friends slowly but surely. So I think that's very important. So, Rabbi, moving forward for you, um, how do you navigate these tough relationships that maybe someone talks to you about or wants to release their emotion to you, or anything that basically is they're trying to relieve themselves of a pain that they've gone through, and you're there to help, or like you suggested, having the friends there. But what type of steps can someone take to
Okay.
move on?
Yeah. So I guess a couple of things. Number one, again, I'm not a therapist, but from a rabbinic or spiritual
Sure,
perspective, I
sure.
would say, number one, take a deep breath and be grateful for all the good things that you have in your life. Start
Mm,
a gratitude journal. Every day, write something that you're grateful for. But here's the key: don't repeat yourself. And then what happens? My daughter taught me this, and she said, "Look, one day I heard she's up to 800 of them, and she said to me, I found new things every day to be grateful for. And when I go to sleep at night, I read 50. How can I not be grateful?" So when somebody's
wow.
coming out of a bad relationship, it's easy and natural to focus on what's missing in our lives, reorient and focus on what we do have in life. It's like the missing tile syndrome. The house is beautiful, but sometimes people, oh, there's a tile that's out of whack. Okay, I understand that. But what about the 95% of your life? You got your health, you got your friends, you got a job, all those things. So that's important. I would say also pray.
Mm,
Ask God for strength. I like the verse in Isaiah chapter 40. It says, "Those who have faith in God, their strength will be renewed. They will grow wings like eagles and run and not walk and not grow tired or weary." You need help. We
yeah.
need God's grace and divine, really, supervision to help lead us to the right people, and don't carry everything on your own. God is with you in that way. I also think that doing good for others, doing acts of kindness will lift you up. It helps people feel better about themselves. Just like
Mm,
the body is a muscle and needs to be exercised, I need to work out. The soul is a muscle too. And the more that I give, actions affect our emotions. It's not emotions affect our actions. So do good for others, you know, and instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, when we do good for others, that will actually help us as well, feeling much better.
yeah, well, I definitely agree there, Rabbi. And we're talking with Rabbi Daniel Cohen. Um, it's funny, when I went through that breakup 5, 6 years ago, hanging out with certain people that I had in my life, and also, like you said, just having that gratitude. And I was happy that I was still alive. I was happy that I had my health. And I think also, Rabbi, tell me if you're on the same page with me, is reflecting back and trying not to make that same mistake, so this way we don't bring it to the next relationship. Is that something that we could work on to make sure that we're not that version of that person that we were, that we want to become better, like you just suggested, by having the gratitude, hanging out with the right people?
Yeah, look, I think that we're all works in progress, There's a
Yeah.
phrase in the book of scriptures that says, a righteous person is somebody who falls but gets back up. Life isn't about perfection. Be self-forgiving. And so, you know what? Like, I'm working every day. I'm just trying to become a better person. And I
Mhm.
think the more that we have, it's called in Hebrew, cheshbon and nefesh, the more introspection that we do in life, the more likely we won't go back to
Mhm.
that worst version of ourselves. We're either going up or down in our character and in our spirit every day. So the best advice I would give is, like, just like you want to work out every day, work on your soul every day. Do
Right.
acts of kindness, pray, offer gratitude, surround yourself with good people. And if every day we're spending a few minutes focused on investing in who we are and who we want to be, in the deepest part of who we are, there's a very high likelihood that we won't revert back, but we'll just keep on growing. And hopefully, by doing that, we'll actually end up attracting people to us that are supportive of those values. And we'll end up hopefully finding the right person to develop a strong relationship with.
No, I think that's the key right there. Trying to better yourself that you were yesterday, reflecting. I like writing down like our gratitude. And it's funny that you say because I tend to repeat the same ones over and over, but there's so
Don't
much
repeat them,
more.
find
Yeah,
different things. Yeah, that
yeah,
helps you find new things for sure.
yeah. No, definitely. But Rabbi, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. And before I let you go, talk more about your books and anything else you want to promote.
Sure. So the main book that I wrote is called "What Will They Say About You When You're Gone?" We're creating a life of legacy. The premise of the book is you're at a funeral, and as you walk out of the funeral, you have a moment when you say to yourself, "I hope they speak about me the way they spoke about that person." And generally, we're
Mhm.
motivated for about 15 minutes until we go back to life as usual. So
Yeah.
I help people identify the best version of yourself, the life you want to lead, and then I take them on a journey of 7 principles to reverse engineer our lives so we lead the lives now for how we want to be remembered. And you can go to my website to learn more about the book, rabbidanielcohen.com. And I also started a legacy academy, which is a 10-month program to
Yeah.
work intentionally with people to become that version of themselves that really reflects the best of who they are. So again, people can reach out to me on there. And there's a fiction book that I wrote called The Secret of the Light, which is about transcending moments of grief and finding new opportunities to spread light. And it's also about helping people like I did with my mom. It's a parable. Feel the presence of somebody who's passed away. I feel my mom's presence. She passed away over 35 years ago,
Yeah.
but I know that she's very much alive in spirit, and I carry her with me every day. So in the book, I reflect a little about how we can do that with our loved ones to feel their ever presence and channel their light into our world.
I know, sounds good. And tell us that website one more time.
www.rabbidanielcohen.com.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. And Rabbi, before I let you go, one last word about relationships and how can we improve that next step?
Well, the main thing in life, it says to walk in the ways of God. And that means be slow to anger, be
Mhm.
patient, remember kindnesses, fill the world with acts of kindness without expectation of return. So the more we walk in the ways of God and emulate the divine ways, our relationships will soar and we'll hopefully be able to build relationships that are not just based on a physical attraction, not minimizing that, but a meeting of the minds, a meeting of the souls, and a love that will endure and grow, God willing, for many, many years.
No, it sounds good. Well, again, Rabbi, thank you so much for being on the People on Dating podcast and taking
My
time out of your
pleasure.
busy
God bless
schedule.
you.
God bless you.